everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Casa Podcast. Today, we're so excited. We're going to get into books, books. I'm super excited to talk about these books and readings and recommendations and take your suggestions and recommendations for my reading list for 2022. At the beginning of the year, most of us resolved here at the Casa Podcast to do a lot more reading. I was so inspired by a tweet I saw at the end of last year where a young lady shared all the books she read in 2021. I was like, it's time to get on this horse. I was like, I am going to start reading. But I think I got a little too ambitious because, guys, for January, I said I was going to read 5 books. 5 books from 0 to 5 book. We just started the year like with so much ambition. I was going to read 5 books. And I am ashamed to say I only got through two. And even the two I cheated my way through. Like I started my year with the 48 Laws of Power. Because I've read this book so many times, I can't tell you enough how much I get through this book in a year. So I was like, it's going to be a good one to start the year with. I got through it quickly because I know the content. I've read some of these stories. I'm trying to learn about as much as I can from this book. And I always find something new. It's always one of my recommendations. If you haven't done that yet, the link to our first books episode is in the description below. Whenever you're done with the live stream, you can definitely go check it out. 48 Laws of Power is how I started my year. It dragged on. Even though I've read it, I kept spending time playing video games, doing things I didn't have to do, couldn't concentrate on the book. But that was my first read for the year, and I think at this space I am not catching that young woman's 40 books because 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, great book, great read. If you like it, you really like it. I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about 48 Laws of Power. If you like it, you really like it. People who don't like it drag and struggle through it, and when they come to the end, they're like, I don't agree with him. But it's one of my it was a good read. It's one of my top recommendations. After that, I decided to do something not that intense. So I went to Bond's Ultimatum, Robert Ludlum. It's one of those ones where I feel if you've watched the movie, you're really going to enjoy the book because I think one of the things about the Bond trilogy is that the screen time keeps going down. You see a lot of scenes move very fast. It's very intense. It's very high paced. The book is a much slower version of the action, right? So you get to see a lot. You get to get a lot out of the thriller. It's still a thriller. It's still insane. I mean, the Bond trilogy is just action, action, action. It's intense. The movie, I think the first movie averaged about 4 seconds per screen. The second one was 3.4, and then the third was like 2 seconds per screen. So it's like it's just moving too fast. The book is a much slower read. So I went through this, and guys, for February, because I didn't even finish my January read, I'm definitely going to finish my January read in February, but I'm going backwards. So I'm going back to Bond's Identity. I'm going to finish the trilogy, but unfortunately, I don't have Bond's Ultimatum. So if you have a copy of the Bond's Ultimatum, let's get in touch. Just leave a comment below. Let me know if you have it, and I'll find a way to get through it. But yeah, Bond's Supremacy was my second. Then I went to my third book. I'm still reading it. Listen, I got stuck on this one. It's the great successor, right? The divinely perfect destiny of brilliant comrade Kim Jong Un. I have a couple of my students reach out to me, and we're discussing what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in North Korea, and all those. And I think this was a good read. It gives you a good idea of what's going on. Written by Anna Fifield. Anna extensively researched for this book. She tells the stories about Kim that Chairman Kim that a lot of people wouldn't know. She demystifies him a little in the book because I know even for the people who live in North Korea, he's a very mysterious figure, right? We not much is known about his life. Apparently, the stories are told that he shot light bulbs at 3. He was a good shooter. He was educated internationally. Not a lot is known about his life. The Great Successor explains, and I think for me, my read of this is it makes you understand what's going on in North Korea a little more. And so if you're into North Korean politics, I think it's a good read. That's my third one. It's not dragging so long because the stories are interesting. Those of you who like the Chicago Bulls of the 90s, Dennis Rodman makes an appearance because we all know Dennis is a very good friend of his. They play basketball together. And so Dennis Rodman makes an appearance. It's a good read. It's not as intense as some of these memoirs can be. Like sometimes it gets very edgy and you're like, oh my God, it's a little too much for me. So The Great Successor is one I would also recommend. It was on my general reading list. This is where I got stuck. But I have one more day. Tomorrow is the 31st. So hey, I can keep trying. I'm not going to finish, guys. I'm not going to finish. But yeah, I was overly ambitious. I bit way more than I could chew. These are the two I couldn't get to. Presidential Follies. This one, I definitely have to get through it. It's Presidential Follies, those who would be president and those who should think again. I think it talks about Bob Doyle, and if you're into American politics, Bob Doyle and why some of the mistakes he made, and a couple of other great political leaders. It talks about people who messed up their political campaigns, right? And so it's a book that if you have any aspirations to be a leader, it's a good one. At least you know all the ways not to be president. So yeah, Presidential Follies, those who would be president and those who should think again. It's by Raphael Harlow and Bradley O'Leary. That's another book I aim to get through, but guys, there's no oil in the tank at this point. I was going to end the month on a more chill, subtle, go back to, Socrates, because why not? So 4 texts on Socrates. This is Euthyphro, the Apology, Crito, and Aristophanes' Clouds. This was how I was going to end my month with a more chill. Clouds is just probably the chillest dialogue, Socratic dialogue you'd enjoy. Euthyphro, I watched a video a couple of days ago with a friend, and we're discussing whether or not I am the child, the lion, or is it the child, the lion, and the camel. And I was like, listen, I have to get back to reading Euthyphro and I can give you a good answer. But those were the books I aimed to get through in January. Guys, too much. I am not there yet. My pace is still slow. I have to keep working on it. So I'm going to keep working as hard as I can to get to 5 books a month. I have a couple of books I'm trying to put together for my February reading, but like I said, I couldn't even finish January. So these two automatically go into February. So I have 2 books, and then I have Bond's Identity to get through in February. I'm going to bring the rest of the tribe on, and they're also going to share their books. I know they've been doing a lot of reading. I know D has probably read an entire library because it's a challenge among the tribe members, right? And I am also looking for recommendations. So please, right now in the comment section, please leave a recommendation. I need to read a lot more. I'm trying to organize my reading. So January was politics. So you can see all my readings are politically inspired. It's revolving around power, understanding politics internationally and domestically. I think February is the month of love. So if you have any romantic novels you would recommend, please leave them in the comment section. Let me know. Let me add that to my reading list. I know Bond's Identity is not a romantic. Come on, there's a little love story on the side, right? That's going to be my romantic comedy or whatever it is. But if you have any good novels, please, I need to get them on my reading list as soon as possible. And I'm building that for March. I know the World Cup is this year. I was speaking to a friend earlier today, and he's like, there are a couple of coaches that have written a lot of wonderful books. So for my reading list for the month of the World Cup, I'll probably do 1 or 2 of their books because I can't read too much football. And so, guys, I'm going to bring everybody on. Today, we're going to be talking books. It's the CASA podcast. If you haven't done that yet, you have to hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, boop that notification bell so that whenever we go live, you can join the conversation. I am bringing the tribe in. Ifya Boa is here. D is in the building. Echo is here with us. Chris is making a first time appearance. Guys, how's everybody doing?
You're doing well.
I'm doing well.
This you're doing
Good.
well. It doesn't sound like you're doing well, though. It doesn't sound
Oh,
like you're doing well.
but we are doing well.
I hear you. How's the reading challenge going? Because the tribe decided to get into this reading challenge together. How you guys doing? I hope you guys are not beating me.
Oh, I've not even read a book so far.
Let
Hey,
just open.
I am winning. No, I am winning. No, guys. So if you're watching the show, they've already given me. I'm 2.5 books ahead. I know Chris is going to read
Kidding
a
me? How
few
did you
short
do
books and
it?
catch up. How did I do it? A lot of TV. A lot of TV is why I only did 2, and I have to also do writing. No. But we're
Wow.
going to get into the conversation. I think my first question to you guys is, which books are you reading in 2022? That's my first question. Which books are you reading? If you're what?
Could you?
Which books? Which books have you started, or which ones are you getting into?
I'm starting with a book that I've read already, right?
Mhm,
I read it when I was in my third year or something, or my second year in college.
mhm,
So for some time now, right, I've been reflecting on, not really reflecting, but there are certain things that okay that takes me back to the book that I read. And
mhm,
I'm like, okay, I read that book and I didn't really grasp most of the things she was trying to say. That
mhm,
is the title is The Defining Decades: Why Your Twenties Matter. Yeah, by Meg
mhm,
J.
mhm,
So I felt like, okay, I read the book and I didn't really capture everything I was supposed to get from the book,
mhm,
you see.
mhm.
So I went back to it and I'm reading it all over again.
Nice,
Yeah. So
nice.
that's what I started with.
So, because you've read it before, I'm going to ask you this question:
Mm-hmm.
What's your rating on a 5 point scale?
Um I give it a 4.
A 4.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. We'll check it out then.
Yeah,
If
you
it's a
should.
4, we'll definitely check it out.
You should.
Okay. So it's
Especially
the
especially if you're a young lady,
Mhm,
you should read
mhm.
that book.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Defining Decades by
Yeah.
Meg J.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one I'm definitely going to check
Yeah.
out. Okay.
And then
Mhm.
should I give all my list or
No, we'll go around the room, right?
okay,
But
yeah.
I have a comment I wanted to address. So Opoko Fojo asked, friends or the office. I guess it's just because I'm wearing the friends shirt. Opoku, it's the office all day, every day for me. It's the office all day, every day for me. However, those two are very great shows. One of these days, we're going to do an episode on TV shows we're watching, and we're going to get all the recommendations. I know Echo can't wait for that. He guzzles up tea. He, Chris, and Echo watch way too much TV. We're going to
Oh,
get
yeah.
into some. It's the office all day, every day. I have my Dunder Mifflin shirt. I'm going to wear it one of these days. But yeah, I had to rep the French today. D,
Yes, could you?
what's on your reading list? What's on your reading list?
Okay, I haven't started reading a lot of books yet, but one I
Oh.
started early January was Bamboozled by Jesus
Mm-hmm.
by Yvonne
Mm-hmm.
Orji.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Hollywood actress. I watch most of her
Okay.
movies and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I'm inspired by her life. So
Mm-hmm.
in that book, she shared her life story,
Mm-hmm.
how the ups and downs and
Mm-hmm.
how God
Mm-hmm.
came through for her in
Mm-hmm.
those times. And I find it very inspirational as a Christian.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's what I've
Nice.
been reading to keep me
Mm-hmm.
strong. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. And on a scale of 1 to 5, from what you've read so far, how do you rate
I
it?
think I'll even give it a 10 because it's just
On a
based
scale of
on
1 to 10, D gives it a 5. So you should
yes.
definitely check it out. Bamboozled by Jesus by Yvonne Orji. We're going to keep leaving these recommendations on screen so that people can, jot them down, or pause the video if you're watching later and just
Mhm.
look for it. So definitely would like for you to get in on the conversation. And so we're going to get back to Ifya. It looks like people. Guys, let me before Ifya comes in. Wendy joined the stream today. Wendy was with us last season. Those who listened to us last season, Wendy definitely came in a couple of times, but she joined the feed late. So she's going to give us her book recommendations. But if you're, we're going to take your second one and then I'll get back to Wendy. If you're, what would you recommend?
For
What are
me,
you reading?
I don't think my January is supposed to be so, so serious like yours. Like you're reading all political and all
Mine
things.
isn't.
I'm gonna read another book. What's the title again? Oh gosh. Common Human Grounds. Yes. A Common Human Ground. I've not started yet. I've not read it before, but I saw a thread on Twitter. I got this recommendation
Okay.
from Twitter, right? Yes, this is the
Okay.
guy I follow. I really like his analysis on things and his perspective on a lot of things. So he recommended this, and I'm like, okay, let me start reading it. And I'm just at chapter one, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot. This is a lot.
A Common Human Ground.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what about it on the timeline made you say, hey, that's a book I need to read? Let's see if it will convince us to.
So there was this, I don't know if I should say argument, right, on the timeline between well, I mean, people talking about how um people need to accept who they are and how, that kind of thing. And then this man comes in and is like, okay, people should understand that we are all unique in our own ways. It really talks about tolerance basically,
Okay.
and how how our uniqueness brings us together, makes us a whole. Yeah, so he broke it down, right? But he didn't really give a spoiler, and I'm
Okay.
just at chapter one, so I can't really
Okay.
talk a lot about it.
We'll definitely come back and hear what you think of it the more you read into it.
Yeah.
Someone just gave us a recommendation. Man's Search for Meaning. Bismarck just said he finished Man's Search for Meaning, and I think
Okay.
it's definitely going to be a book that we might want to crack open. The title sounds like a good one. If only Bismarck could give me more, I would love that. Bring the Noise. Bring the Noise. Okay. Someone is recommending Bring the Noise by Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp is Liverpool's manager. I, I think. I hope he still is, because now these days in football, you never know. Somebody could be fired. A few days ago, we're talking about Milo and how tactical he is, and now he's not there. And Nana said, Born a Crime is a good read. Yeah, I know it's very funny and thought provoking by Trevor Noah. And so definitely it's one that I have heard him talk about it so much. He's done a whole stand-up comedy bit on it. And so I haven't read a book, but I feel like I know what it's about. But I'm definitely going to grab it. It's definitely a book I should own and read around a bit. Nice. We're still waiting for the recommendations in the chat. Chris, do you have any recommendations for me?
No, I don't have any recommendation yet.
Look, you don't have any recommendations. I'm going to Wendy. Wendy is reading. You people will be there. I'm winning the challenge. The tribe challenge. It looks like everybody is abandoning the challenge. So I'm
No,
winning.
because you know what will make it interesting, right? I think we should give a prize.
You let Wendy give her recommendation and then we'll see. Let Wendy give her recommendation and then we'll see if we should put a prize on there. Wendy,
Hi.
how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. What are you reading?
Like now?
Yeah. I said like now. Wendy wasn't in the episode where we all decided. In our first episode, we all decided we're going to read more. Everybody was here bragging about how they're going to be reading more. And now Efia is sitting here acting like she wasn't here. She's acting all brand new, like she didn't say she was going to read. We have a reading challenge going, and I'm sure the people in the audience are also going to tag along. Please join us on our reading journey. Let's share what we're reading. We're trying to inspire each other to read more, right? We're going to push ourselves to read more than we did in 2021. So, Wendy, do you have any recommendations for me?
I think I'll say the subtle art of not giving the F word. I don't want to
Mm.
say that. If I'm allowed to say that, can I say
No, you
it?
can't say it. No, you
Okay.
can't say it.
So that's how out of not giving the F word by
Oh,
Mark
okay. Mark
Manson.
Manson. Yeah,
Yes,
Mark Manson. Yeah, there's not a lot of not giving. Yeah, yeah.
the F
That
word.
that.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a good read, though? In your opinion, why is it a good read?
Because I feel like you know how like we live life per people's perspective, and like we try to live per what maybe someone or somebody see. I don't know how to explain this.
Mhm,
And I haven't literally read the whole book, but I
mhm,
feel like I just read a bit of it, and then it just
mhm,
talks about how important finding like things in life, and how like you value your individual self, and just things about like that, things about not giving too much mind to the people around you and all of that. Oh,
mhm.
okay. Things about not giving too much mind to the people around you, just doing what you want to do, basically.
Mm. I would definitely recommend it. It's on my nightstand. I was sharing earlier with a couple of friends. Like, yeah, it's one of those books that's permanently wedged on my nightstand. Whenever I'm trying to go to bed and it gets difficult, I just crack it open and read a chapter or two because it's one of those ones, right? Echo, don't tell me you don't have a reading, you don't have any recommendations. Don't be like Chris. Listen, Echo, if you're like Chris, you're going to be last. And you know how Chris would tease you when you're last on everything. Remember when we used to go to the gym and would ride and you'd be last? You remember?
Jojo, allow Jim Matters to be Jim Matters, please.
No, but on this reading challenge, whoever goes last is taking us all to dinner. We're going to Jenny or something. We're going to have ramen, and that person pays it. So
I
start
can
put
cook.
that
I can cook
reading.
dinner at home. No, I have some
No,
curry over
we're
there,
not going to come in.
so that we can,
I think
No.
I need to start saving for that dinner.
Oh, Chris has decided to be last, though. Chris has decided by default to be last. Echo, do you have any readings for us? Do you have any
I have a
recommendations
few. I think
for us?
we are sharing one book, so it's like
Mhm.
this month. I just want to start with this. 48
Okay. Oh,
Laws.
the laws of nature.
Yeah,
That's
and
another
like
good one.
yeah, like you were talking about
Mhm.
it, but I started reading. I'm like, this book is deep. I just read chapter one.
is.
I haven't gotten anywhere. I was like,
It is.
it's like it allows you to like to think how your enemy think. I was like,
Mhm, mhm,
and it's a lot. Like, so I have a friend who recommended it for me. He was like,
mhm.
I need to read this book, but please don't use it on anybody. I was like, what do you mean? It's like you have to use it when you have to use it, but don't use it like.
Mhm,
I was like,
mhm,
it's just a book, but like I started
mhm,
reading, I was like, wow,
mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
like it's
It-
deep.
It
Yeah.
is. It is.
Uh,
Robert Greene has a way of roping you in. He has a couple
Mhm.
of these books in the series. I think the laws of attraction, the laws of power. He has the laws of nature. I think there's another one, the act of seduction. I think he has a couple of these books, and he's such a compelling writer. Whenever I read a Robert Greene book, it feels as though he is trying to make you bad, but he truly just makes you understand.
Yeah.
He gives
Yeah.
it to you as is, and
Yeah.
that's why I was like, if you like it, you really like it. Like the laws of nature, for instance, if you like it, you really like it because
Yeah.
it makes you understand or see things slightly differently.
Very
And
true.
you know how he uses his examples and stories. So by the time you get through the book, it's like you've read like 40 different books, right? You've read a little Chinese history, a little Greek history, a little Italian history. He mixes it up for you. So it's always going to be a good read. I'm always going to recommend Robert Greene, and definitely, I'm going to go into some of the recommendations coming in
I
the
had
chat.
another book I didn't finish.
Oh, you want to do all of them now? Like we're
Just
going to
another
come back.
one.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
It's just this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. I don't know whether you've read it.
Let me.
It,
I
like,
know I haven't read it. Let me see
it's
it.
really like
Put it
the
on
richest,
camera again. The Richest
like,
Man in Babylon. Who wrote that book?
So it's written by Carlson, John
Okay.
Carlson.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice. It talk about finances, like
Mhm.
yeah. So it's like I started with the introduction, and
I think I've read it.
Oh yeah. If you
Yeah.
tell us about it now,
No, I'm not going to do
No,
spoilers.
not spoilers. If you whip up my appetite, please. What is it about? It's a book I'm definitely going to check out.
I think I've read it, but I don't want to spoil anything. So you should just read and come
Yeah.
back and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, no spoilers, thank you.
No, I'm
The
not gonna
Richest
spoil it,
Man
no.
in Babylon. It's a book I'm going to read. And guys, this is what I'm going to be doing. And if you want, you can join this. I can always give out some of my books. Apart from the 48 Laws of Power, if you want to borrow any of my books here on the tribe, I can give you my books. Apart from the 48 Laws of Power, that doesn't leave my house. But
Why?
yeah, you can come here and read it. This book and my Robert Greene books don't leave my house. But any of the other ones we can trade around. So whenever you're done with the Richest Man in Babylon, I would definitely like to read it. I think it's one I'd like to check out, since Ifya didn't want to spoil it for me.
No.
And a lot of recommendations are coming in the chat. I think Bismarck sort of gave us a better description of the book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I think it's one that I would definitely put down. Kwame said, but there's no man is an island, so people's opinions are important. But you would have to learn how to separate the unnecessary opinions from positive opinions, which can help you build. I think he is addressing the subtle art of not giving a, I think he's talking about how other people can, help you get where you want to go. Sometimes other people's opinions are good. Oh, okay. So the Man's Search for Meaning talks about his experience as a prisoner in the Nazi concentration camp during World War II, identifying a purpose in life to feel positive about, and then immersively imagining that outcome. It sounds like an interesting read. I like people who write about their experiences, right? Sometimes it helps you really understand and appreciate some of these things, right? I definitely would check it out. Kojoboku said, what? The act of not giving everybody wants that, even though our society is built on caring about what others think. It's true, right?
But Kojo, you know that particular book, I don't want to read it.
Why?
Yeah, just crack it open and see. I don't think it's about
read that book.
Why?
It's not gonna help me.
Why?
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a
Echo.
reason?
Yeah, I do have a reason.
Mhm.
I think at default, I don't give
The F word already.
Yeah.
So you don't
No,
know.
So
but,
if I
if
read it,
I
it's
don't
just gonna-
think I think you're taking the title a little literally. I think the book really might not be what
That's
you think it
true.
is.
No, it's
Yeah.
not bad, right? But
I think it's a seller.
I'm actively looking at
Mhm.
being more sensitive. You see,
Mm.
yeah. So
Mm.
I'll be more inclined to reading books on that line than to really go back to yeah. So I
Well,
think
I'd encourage you to at least give it a chapter or two. Let's see. But Echo, Christine said they love the book. I don't know which of those. I don't know if it's The Loss of Nature
no,
or
the richest man in Babylon.
Christine, let us know which one it is. Is it The Richest Man in Babylon or the one about nature? It's always good. Michael came up with something. If you didn't tell us a bit of it, then she didn't read it. I think everybody and it's ringing in the comment section. People don't think if you read it. So if you come back on blast.
No, I'm not.
This
is not going to make me talk about
character?
it.
What's the name
Come
of
and
the
remove your
character?
mouth.
That's all we want.
No, I'm not telling you.
Just the name of the
anything.
character.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
I am beginning to believe these guys. I'm going to go back to D. Let me go back to D. D.
Okay.
Yeah,
Give us a second recommendation. What's your second recommendation?
And I think this year I'm going to be very bent on financial literacy. So I think I had few recommendations from friends, and one of them is Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. I think I have like 3 of his books in my list. That's one is Retire Young, Retire Rich by Robert Kiyosaki. The second one is Think and Grow Rich, same person, and then the last one is How the Rich Keeps Getting Richer. So I just feel I have to read that to up my game in terms of my finances.
So Kiyosaki writes a lot of these books. He has Rich Dad Poor Dad. He has How to Keep Getting Rich. Again, I don't know what it is about him that draws you to him. So if you don't mind sharing, what about Kiyosaki and his writings to you?
He's very successful, and if you'd want to learn, you want to learn from someone who has done it before and worked for
Okay.
him. So I
Okay.
think it's
Yeah.
best reading books that he authored, and that's the reason why I like to read his book, because he's very successful when
Okay.
it comes to businesses. Yeah,
Okay. So
I think I
Kiyosaki,
even have one of
definitely.
his books here. That's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know.
Rich Dad Poor
Oh
Dad.
yeah,
That
that's the
that
same
one was a
one.
bestseller. Rich Dad Poor Dad was a bestseller. I think a lot of people got into it. Lots of people read it. I don't know how the outcome has been, but I think it's definitely a good read. It's one of those things you definitely need to check out, right?
Yeah, it's an eye opener.
Interesting. Yeah, people agree with you. They're like, hey, money matters, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
Money
course.
matters. And so yeah, it's
And
someone
you know,
said she wants
these
money.
things, some of the things he says in his books are not taught in school. So I think it's really an eye opener if you really want to succeed, because we've been taught to go to school,
Yeah.
get a good grade, go get some 9 to 5 job, and then that's it. But he really opens your eyes to the other side if you really want to be successful in life. So I think, yeah, that's why I read his books.
Okay. I'm not completely sold on Kiyosaki yet, but definitely, I'll definitely give a couple of his books. I think there's one in particular that I want to Think and Grow Rich is one I would like to give a read this year. And I think I'm getting stuck on the Roberts. Like, the Bond series is by Robert Ludlum. I am a big fan of Robert Greene. Now I'm adding Robert Kiyosaki. I guess I would soon change my name to Robert Rich. Robert Rich.
Robert Rich.
I'm getting stuck on the Robert. That's beautiful. It's interesting. I know a couple of book recommendations came in. If you wanted to read Alexander
Oh
Dumas's
yeah, I've
Conquer.
read it. I've read it several times. Like this won't be the first time I'm reading, but mostly I like to go back to books I've read.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
then I feel like there's something I missed there, because I was talking to my brother, recommended this book to me. I was talking to a friend who read it, and her perspective was quite different. I'm like, what did I miss in the book? I didn't get this, so I want to go back to it to read it again. Yeah.
So my love affair with the Count of Monte Cristo is this. It's the first book I checked out of the Ashanti Library in Kumasi when I was a young boy in elementary school. I was around class 4 at the time. And it was the first book I checked out. And at the time, I didn't get the meaning, the essence of the book. It's one of those books that it's a good read. It's a good story when you're young, but the lessons cannot be learned by a kid. And so it's one of those ones, I think, like you, I would have to revisit, right? And it might not be My Republic, right? Plato's Republic is a book I've read so many times and I still feel like I haven't read. I think I would definitely revisit The Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
I liked it because at the time, as a kid, Cristo kind of was funny to me. I was like, why does a white book Cristo? Because I thought it was a Ghanaian thing. Then I was like,
I think I liked it because of the money and revenge aspect of it. I felt so bad for Edmond Dantes. I was like, this book has to end well. and truly ended well. I'm like, okay, so I'm happy it just ended well. But I go back to it each time and I'm like, okay, I didn't get this part of the book. How did I read it the first time? So I keep going back to it, and it's something that ushers me into that whole mentality of wanting to read more and get to know a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely give it another read. If you get another copy, I would love to borrow it and spend some time diving into it. D, I have a something for you. Someone said, if it is money, she is my friend. So D, Enoch says, hey,
okay,
if it's about the money, so I think there should be a month we go into those financial readings. We get into the Robert Kiyosaki mood. And then we all start making money and start sharing with the people, the tribe who are listening, right? So the tribe is going to read extensively on finance. I know Faustina would have been a great addition to this episode.
Yeah.
She is always reading something. Faustina is always reading something. Faustina, this is a shout out. I know you're watching. We know you'd be joining us sometime soon, right? I think it's one of those ones. But if you also recommended another one, which I want us to get into, the Brothers Karamazov, Fyodor Dostoevsky.
I started this book last year. You recommended
Okay.
it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I got to I don't know, I just fell off. I couldn't finish it. A lot of things came into play. I'm like, okay, this book was really good when I was reading it.
Mhm.
I loved it.
Hmm.
It's I don't know if I won't spoil it. Yes, I won't spoil it. But
We
I
can talk
love
about it. We don't have to spoil it. So I think
uh,
those who
so
haven't.
you read it. I've just read like 3 chapters or 4 chapters or something. Three.
Oh, it's
or
a lot of books though. And so
Yeah.
you have quite a
So
few to get through. So I'm not going to give so much away. I'm not going to spoil it. But
okay.
again, those who did not check out our first episode on this one, the link is in the comment section. It's in the description of this video. Just check it out. Just hit that link. Go catch up that on that one. We give a more extensive reading list. We get more into these books. So
Yeah.
Dostoevsky and Tolstoy have been my gateway into Russian literature. He writes beautifully. I just like the way he layers stories on story on story. And this is a story about the human experience, the human existence, right? So he talks about a story. It's a story about three brothers with a rich father, right?
Yep.
Ivan, Aloysia, and Misha.
Misha.
So
Ivan
he,
and Richard Misha.
yeah,
Yeah.
he represents the body, the soul, and the spirit
Because
by
you're
three.
spoiling the book.
I'm not spoiling. I'm just
No.
giving.
You know you wouldn't
I'm
get
not going to tell the
this.
whole story. I
Let me
just
tell
want.
you wouldn't get this perspective when you read it up to
Oh,
like the third
okay,
chapter.
okay.
Because you don't have to talk
Okay.
about the book. Just let people read and
I
then
am
come
not
up with
going
their
to.
own.
But yeah, another one someone is recommending, Crime and Punishment. Oh, it's a good read. Bismarck looks like he really reads. Like Bismarck, I'm really appreciating your comments and your inputs. I big shout out. You look like you read a lot, and definitely. Crime and Punishment is also another good read. I'm not trying to give everything away. If you keep stepping on my toes, like slow it down. Don't share. But yeah,
Don't think
crack
about
these
it.
books open. I think Dostoevsky would really blow your mind. He writes beautifully, and I think Dostoevsky was the. I hope he doesn't take this in the wrong way, but when I read Dostoevsky, I think of J.K. Rowling, right? I think he was a more
J.K. Rowling wrote.
because
Harry
details.
Potter.
J.K. Rowling would. I still read.
Hmm.
I read things in like class 5. I was 10 years old when I read her description of bubblegum pink, and I'm like, that is definitely a color I know. Like the detail with which he writes, right? When he was talking about this kid who was born to the servants, the kid with a disability, right?
Mhm.
He writes so well that after reading half a paragraph, you have a clear picture of the kid. You know, sometimes you read a book and the writing is all about the story and the storyline. Dostoevsky is about the images. He paints vivid images. So it's a long read,
Yeah.
but he is giving you very detailed, like he tells you exactly when a cough happened, when the
Yeah.
reaction. I remember the first time this man was put on trial. It's like watching the scene. You're looking at people's faces, you're seeing how everybody is behaving in the trial, and it's so beautiful. I think he paints very vivid pictures, and that's why I like reading his stuff. So if you're someone who really likes detail, he's your guy. Dostoevsky is your guy. Crime and Punishment is a good one. Yeah. And quick question: if you don't complete a book, should you consider it as read? Guys, let's go around the room. D, if you haven't completed a book, should you consider it as read?
I don't think you should consider it as a read. You should read it.
Okay.
You should finish it because
So finishing is key.
yeah, finish it is read. Yeah.
Papa Ko,
Yeah.
if you haven't completed a book, should you consider it read?
So if someone asks me how did they end, how am I gonna say if I haven't completed it?
Yeah.
True.
You talk about what you read.
True.
Like, how did it end? Like, what happened?
Mhm,
I'm like,
mhm.
oh, I'm on chapter 5. I'll come and tell you. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So I think
If you haven't completed a book, should you consider it as read?
It depends. It depends on the book, you know. Some books you can really tell how it's gonna be like and everything. But others is like it's a teaching and you have to
Mhm.
complete it. So those ones, I don't know.
So is it a yes or a no?
It depends.
So you haven't read the Brothers Karamazov?
Oh no way! I've read it. You
Wendy.
guys, when did this to be?
Hi, Ke.
Wendy, if you haven't finished the book, should you consider it read?
I think he said read, and then the meaning of read is when you read something in it. So fast you read a bit of it, you've what kind? You've read something.
Okay.
So you can consider it that, even if you've not finished. I feel like you read part of it, so you can say you read it. I mean,
Okay. Echo. Hey, Chris. If you haven't finished the book, can you consider it read?
I think it is not supposed to be. If it's not 0, it's 1. You have to have other options.
Thank
So
you.
Interesting.
you can't say
Interesting.
if you didn't finish it, then you didn't read it. It could be I started it. I've read to some parts. I've finished it.
good.
So
No,
I think if you have,
I feel you
I
wouldn't be
read the
able.
book.
I feel you wouldn't be able to give out what the book really represents, like explain whatever you had from it. Probably you might have missed some parts.
Oh,
So if
no,
you
it
say you've read
Yeah,
a book
you
and you're
have a
coming to
comment.
recommend,
no.
Yes,
But
some
like
books
some
that
books like have like
the
plot twists.
storyline. Yes,
I
you
mean,
have to get to the
I am
end.
so
But
dead.
other books is like
so
it's a
dead.
teaching.
when it comes to reading a book, right?
Mhm.
We all have different ways of seeing things. So
Mhm.
someone can read just the first chapter,
Mhm.
someone can read the entire book, but the person who just read the first chapter can understand and explain the book better than someone who read the entire
It depends.
book.
Guys,
So
should
it
I
depends.
say? Should I
Just the
share
first
something
depends
very
on-
chapter.
funny here?
It
Efia
depends
is
on the
here.
book.
Efia is here
It dep-
trying to play that middle ground, that whole, But earlier today, a guy was talking about a book, and the first question she
Oh
came
my
was like, "Hey, I have a question for you. Did you finish reading the book?" The guy said, "He was like,
you
okay,
know,
finish reading it, and then we can talk." Because the truth is, sometimes a book can be a whole setup
Could
to
you
a
a
punchline.
snitch?
No. Sometimes a book can be a setup to a punchline. Like the first 8, 9 chapters could just be setting you up for that twist at the end.
Yeah.
And so they talk about
Yeah.
how wonderful this
Exactly.
guy is, how wonderful this girl is, how wonderful a character is. And they are priming you or prepping you up for that twist at the end. And so if you read about all that and you go and stand somewhere and like, I really like this character. He was amazing. She was amazing.
Oh,
It's the
Kojo, you
best
don't
thing.
get what we are trying to say,
Mhm.
right? We are not saying that if you
Mhm.
read just chapter 1 or 2, you finish
Mhm.
the book. It's a like you've read
you
a
read
part
You
of
read
the
part
it.
of the
Yeah,
book.
that
that's
you
the
could talk
thing. You've
about
read
the
it.
what you read.
Enoch says you have to get the whole story. But I like
Yeah.
Kobe's submission. Kobe said, every read be read. My guy. Read na read, oh. Every read be read. Okay, just listen. But I think it just depends on how you're presenting it. And I completely
Yeah.
agree with Chris. It's not always a black and white. I would recommend you get through the entire book if you want to go talk about it somewhere. I'd recommend that you do the reading. It's hard, but do it. But if you're not reading the entire book, don't go and stand somewhere and say, "Hey, I read this book,"
Yeah,
because
read them. Yeah.
people can trip you up. Like I'm saying, sometimes writers write in a way to set us up for something big, like the grand finale. And it's like movies, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to watch a movie that's 2.5 hours. You watch the first 2 hours and say, "Hey, I know how the story ends." Unless, of course, it's a Ghanaian movie. No offense to the Ghanaian movie industry, but sometimes you see 2 scenes and you're like, "Yep, I know how this ends." Lewin is going to. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but sometimes it can be like that. But I would always recommend that you give the book a thorough read, and sometimes you even have to read them over and over and over again. Like even the Brothers Karamazov, right? Even after reading it, someone asks you something, and like, I remember that. And they're like, "Oh, that was the perspective. That's what you got out of it." Sometimes I feel like we didn't even read the same book because people
Yeah.
get very different lessons from a book. But
That's
Kwame,
true.
that was a very insightful question. When you actually say you've read a book, Kwame is just cracking up. He asked the question, he dropped the bomb, and he just kept laughing. He's just laughing at how everybody is trying to squirm around it. If you haven't finished it, you haven't read it. Yeah, it's just going to finish it. Sometimes people can read the abstract alone
Explain the whole book.
and explain the whole book. It's true. People read the blurb and they're like, "Yep, I've read the book." Sometimes I want you to actually read. Oh, PY said, "I recommend if your boy is looking at me." Oh, that is his
Right,
recommendation.
thank you.
He recommends if your boy is looking amazing. Okay. It's a good book, guys. Check it out. that is a good book. If your boy is looking amazing, definitely. Wendy is looking amazing. Dee is looking amazing, and the young men are all in black. I don't know who invited us to a funeral, but hey, it's the black gang. Like
Mhm.
you know, I'm hanging out with my friends. So. Michael, please get it done. Yeah, Michael, finish reading your books. We can see you are just doing this to get away from it. And you people are just at this, you people are just mentioning books from Jordan Peterson's reading list. Because why Dostoevsky? Oh my god. And Jordan Peterson is a very interesting writer. I love to read Jordan Peterson, not because I agree with him, but I like to know where he's going with some of the stuff. I know a lot of people who like reading Jordan Peterson. He's an interesting one. But yeah, why Dostoevsky? Dostoevsky is great.
What do you write?
Writes well.
Jordan
Jordan Peterson?
Yeah.
He is a modern Canadian writer. He writes a lot of he writes anti-feminist stuff. He tries to represent. He's a Christian apologist too. He tries to present. I wouldn't say it this way, but a more of a defense for the status quo, right? Why the world isn't broken and why movements shouldn't. And so I don't have any of his books off the top of my head, but I have seen a couple of his material, and he is an interesting character. I'm not a big fan of Jordan Peterson, because sometimes it feels like, I don't want to bash him on here. So we'd move on. We'd move on from that. And for those of you who did not catch the earlier segment, I did go through my reading list, right? I did go through some of the books I read in January. I still have them lying around here. Let me show off a little, because Jack, it's good to show off, Kakra.
You read just
I know, right? That was my reading list. I didn't finish. I read The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Great read. Recommended to everyone. If you didn't catch the first segment, this is a redo for you. 48
Wait,
Laws
is it
of
a
Power.
book you said that doesn't leave your house?
Yes, this one doesn't
Yeah.
leave my house. If you want to read it, you can come sit in my office and read. Always, it's going to be here.
I'm going to steal the book.
It's the only audiobook I own too. I can't tell
Oh.
you the number of times I'm in the gym working out and I'm listening to 48 Laws of
So
Power.
did you hear me? I said I'll come and steal the book.
Don't let the devil deceive you. Don't let the devil do that to you. It can end. And then the second read I had this year was Born Supremacy, Robert Ludlum. Again, it's the Roberts for me. If you're recommending a book and it's not from Robert, don't recommend it. So Robert Ludlum, Born Supremacy, it's the second book of the trilogy. I would always recommend it. Going on this one next month, Born Identity, but Born Supremacy. And then my third one, I would recommend if you like stuff like this, The Great Successor. Great Successor, The Divinely Perfect Destiny of Brilliant Comrade Kim Jong-il. Anna Fairfield, she was the Beijing based reporter for one of the news agencies. She was great. She did extensive research for this one.
Right.
Tells the story of Kim Jong-un. And Echo took my class last semester, and we talk about some of these things. If you're interested in international relations, international politics, this would give you an idea of the news you're hearing, right? We just had North Korea tried another supersonic missile and a hypersonic missile. It would give you an idea why he does the things he does. The ones I didn't get into, presidential follies, those who would be president and those who should think again.
Wait, a question. Do you want to be president?
Yes, of a book club.
No. Do you actually want to be president?
Yeah, I want to be president of my book club. But yeah,
No.
Presidential Follies is a good political read. Again, it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be satiric. So it tells real stories of real politicians, but it puts a twist to it. I never really finished. It was on my reading list. I couldn't get to it because I got stuck in North Korea. I'm still getting out. I'm wrapping up. I have one more day in January. I would get back to that. And the last one, I was like, let me take a trip back to ancient Greece. 4 texts on Socrates. These are 4 texts on Socrates.
Kojo,
And
when
it's
do you plan to read these books?
these ones I'm carrying them into March. So these 2 I'm going into March with them. So this book was written by a couple, right? Thomas G. West and Grace Starry West and West. So Mr. and Mrs. West put together these 4 texts on Socrates. It talks about Euthyphro, the Apology, Crito, and then Aristophanes' Clouds. Like if you're into Greek literature and if you are a Socratic person, if you like the Aristotelian thinking and all that, it's a good read. It's a light one. That's why I was putting it at the end of the week. It's only a few 100 pages, 181 pages. Very light read. You can finish this in a day and throw it away. So yeah, that was supposed to wrap up my January readings. I couldn't. So those 2 fall into March. But I just wanted to share the reading list with you again. Ifya said the defining decade, why the 20s matter, and I think my 20s should definitely matter. I would definitely go back
Who's
to my
20s?
20s. Listen, I'm still in my 20s. I have to make my 20s count. I have to make my 20s
Please,
count.
please, don't do this here.
Yeah,
We're not gonna do this here.
Song is killing me, Kwejo. Put off the TV to conserve electricity. So I hear you. I would conserve some electricity. 12 rules of life.
Wait, I
Please,
have
if you-
one I wanted to talk about.
Okay, yeah, we can take your recommendation. Which one did you
So
want?
it's Built Through Courage by Dave Hollis. I don't know.
Okay.
And the reason why I want to read that book, I mean, I started it, but I'm in the mid. Since now you guys said if you've not read the entire book, you cannot say you've read it. So I would say I read some pages, but I'm not done.
Mhm.
And I feel like it talks about how to face your fears and how to live life.
Mhm.
You know how like sometimes you don't have the courage to do certain things in
Mhm.
life, and I feel like this book is gonna really help me because sometimes like I get scared, and I feel like when I'm done reading, maybe I'll have a little bit of courage to face things. Yeah.
Hopefully, by the time you're done reading and you get to the last page of the book, like everybody is recommending, we can get some courage. But again, the reason why we're having these discussions and having the conversation is that after you read it, please give us your review, right? Give us your review.
Well,
Give us the ones we should skip because, like, we're trying to read a lot, but we're not trying to bore ourselves to death. There's some books you should tell me, Kwejo, just don't. Like, I think of all the ones I've read, I would give them 4 stars. I rarely give 5 stars. So if I give you a 5-star book, I think the only book I would give 5 stars, 48 Laws of Power, 5 stars. But the rest of them 4 stars. So that you don't, you read it. But if I find a book you should completely skip, I would definitely let you know. I think I'm getting some some books in the chat, but please add the author to it, please. 12 Rules of Life. I think I'd like to check it out. Ken, if you can do me the favor and add the author, that would be a good. Maps of Meaning. Ken, your book. Oh, okay. All these are Jordan Peterson's books. Okay, so 12 Rules of Life. If you were asking about Jordan Peterson's book and the maps of meaning. So yeah, these are some Jordan Peterson books. This guy is always cracking up. Kwame is always cracking up in the chats. He's always laughing. Charlie, it be like I have to start reading. I'm slacking. Kwame, you're slacking. Kwame, you're slacking. You're a member of the tribe. So you've got to start reading. Chris has already started saving up for buying us dinner because he has decided that he is going to lose this challenge.
So we have Gary at home. Don't worry. Chris, don't
The
say we have Gary
Surgeon
at home.
by Archipelago. Oh, snap. I just said you said if it's not Robert, don't recommend. Sorry. I already hit send. I'm not saying listen, you can send me the books. I'm not reading exclusively Robert.
Kojo,
I'm
this is
reading
not a
Western
book.
West.
Are you sure?
I know.
Archipelago.
Kwame is just pulling my legs, but Kwame, you have to be careful. Jordan Peterson prescribed taking responsibility as a cure to the world's biggest problem rather than other philosophies proposed actions.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a fair read of his situation. So if I was supposed to give a one line about him, he is one of those people who is like, I say it as it is.
Okay. I think I'll like him.
Good. So if you like him, if he says what do you think he should say, yeah. But he thinks he says it as it is. Sometimes I feel he should but that's my feeling. Who cares? It's Jordan Peterson. He's a lecturer. He's a tenured professor. So hey, he knows what he's talking about, I guess. Okay, Song has one last one. We, the LA students, are going to start reading In the Chest of a Woman and the Grief of a
Oh,
Child.
really?
Chest of a
Honestly,
Woman
that
is
was
a
my
good one.
favorite
Yeah.
book.
And
Chest
it's
of
just
a Woman was a good play.
Like,
It was a good play, right?
Yeah.
It's
a
like the
good book.
best book
Yeah.
you can read when you're in JHS, like
In
the best book. High
yeah.
school, read
Mhm.
it, read a book. And the good thing was that we read it as a class. So
Mhm.
each
Yeah.
time we sit in a class and then one person will read, and my form master, my English teacher back then, is going to explain each paragraph. We'll talk about it. So that particular book is really dear to my heart.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
don't talk about it like that. And the Grief Child too is very good, but it's
Yeah.
too, like the title. It's
It's
too
Grief
sad.
Well,
Child. What did you
I
expect?
can't.
Yeah,
I don't like
You
it.
you picked a book that told you they are going to talk about the Grief Child.
but I like the
How
Grief
many of
Child.
you remember The Woes of an African Child? That was
I've
also
seen
a
it, but
good
I
one.
didn't read it. And
The Woes
No,
of an
me
African
too.
Child. That was a good one.
listen, Ancestral Sacrifice too. Have you read it?
Yes.
Oh, I
Yes.
read that book because my sisters were using it for their in literature back at
Yep.
home.
Yep.
You're supposed to read some books. So we read it, and then it was scary. Like the book was like you're watching a horror movie.
Mhm.
Wow.
Ancestral Sacrifice. It was bad.
That was when a kid got killed in the jungle by
Mhm.
the that was a good one.
And it was very detailed.
That's a rather
Very
interesting one.
detailed.
So Life 3.0, Being Human in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. I think this is a book my brother Kwesi would really appreciate, by Max Tegmark. I hope I'm not butchering his name. Guys, forgive me if I butcher his name, but my name is Kojo Pukwajimang, so I think I get that from time to time. But Max Tegmark writes a book about being human in the age of AI, and the reason I recommend it is my brother is an AI freak. He gets into a lot of AI. So Kwesi, I know you're watching this. It's a recommendation just for you. Let me know what you think after you read it. Kwame keeps laughing. He said, "Song is a nice book to read."
No, he's a
Read.
song. It's a nice book to read.
Yeah,
He recommended In the
it's-
Chest of a Woman
In
and
the Chest of a Woman, eh?
The Grief Child. Yeah.
And some tech books too. So keep sending your recommendation. We really appreciate you joining us today. It's been the Casa Podcast. Today we're doing books. Which books we're reading in 2022. We're trading ideas. We're rating our books. We're just getting into our reading competition, because like I said, here at the Casa Podcast, we are reading this year. We decided we're
Yep.
going to read more so that we can better serve our listeners, right? The more we read, the more fun conversations we can have, and the more if you can come and say, here looking pretty. I know what's his name, PY said it's a good book. If is looking gorgeous, is a good book you have to check out.
Oh, Kojo,
Ghost in the Wires
how
of
about-
Kevin. Mhm.
Okay.
Ghost in the Wire, I think it's another tech book by Kevin Mitnick. Again, I'm sorry I'm butchering the names. Kevin Mitnick. Ghost in the Wires. I think Kwesi would also like that one. And if you're into
Wait,
tech
Bismarck, have
stuff,
you read all of these books or what? Because I say you
Uh-huh.
read
It's
how.
It's so.
Uh-huh.
He has
Good
a lot of
question.
recommendations.
Good
Please,
question.
are you googling it to tell us, or you read it? Just
I
have
think
fun,
you read
because
it. I think
Bismarck,
you
leave us a comment. Let's know if you've read this. But this is also another good book. I read this book. I remember exactly
Thinking
where I
Fast,
was when I
Thinking
read this
Slow.
book. Thinking Fast and
Okay.
Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Daniel
Okay.
Kahneman is an amazing writer. I think he won. If he didn't, he came close to winning the Nobel Prize in economics. I'd confirm he's a behavioral economist, right? And Thinking Fast and Slow is a good read. It explains how the thought process works, how the human thought process works, and how it applies to almost everything. Our purchasing decision, our investment decisions, our day-to-day decisions. Thinking Fast and Slow, good read. Daniel Kahneman. I think everybody should check it out. Things Fall Apart, Chino Achebe. Classic.
I
It's an
love that
all-time
book.
classic.
yeah.
Things Fall Apart is a classic. I think if you're trying to get into African authors, which is one of these things I'm going to try and do this year, I'm going to read a couple of books from. There's a month I'm going to read exclusively African authors. I have one that I'm going to let me pull this up. It's an interesting one. The Sex Lives of African Women by Nanada
Hey.
Sechiama. It's a very highly rated book. It was written about in the Guardian. I don't think it is
Oh.
about what the title. I'm not sure gives everything away.
'Cause-
People saw the
okay.
Sex Life of African Women and everybody. No, I think I would give it a read. I would come back here and definitely give you a review. It's a promise. I'm going to read the Sex Life of African Women by Nana Dakwase Chiama. I'm going to take my time, read that book, and we're going to talk about it some time. But it's one of those books I feel is going to be a hot one on my African month. I think maybe May is going to be my month of reading exclusively African books because the semester would have ended.
Oh, I would have a lot of recommendations for you for
Okay.
African authors.
Yes, and please, if you're listening to the podcast and you have any African authors you want me to put me on, please leave the comment in the section. Leave it in the comment section. I really want to get a month where I devote to just reading African authors, the old and the new. Right? I know Chinua Achebe is may his soul rest in perfect peace. He is a classic. He is a classic. You should always read Things Fall Apart. Umofia. Umofia people. The people of Umofia. Animal Farm. Oh, George Orwell's Animal Farm. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. I think it's a good political satire, right? And I think in the 80s, well, of course, the 80s were very wonderful days for political ideology, and it was the peak of the war, right? And so George Orwell writes very beautifully. My favorite character is Boxer, though, and it's a sad story. If you want to, you can. You're a badass in the making.
No, you're badass at making money.
Hey, at making money. This is the lady that likes. Oh, I don't know if it's a recommendation or but
for D. For the lady that likes finance.
Thank you, Christine.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I think it's a book. Well, I don't know. Christine, give us more details. Okay.
Yeah.
And We Shall All Be Feminists by Chimamanda. Oh, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Listen,
Adichie.
I am going to butcher some of these names again. Apologies. My apologies. The names are not going to roll off my tongue as easily because, again, my name is Kojopu Kwajimai. And so my name, to tell you, names come hard to me and I understand. And apologies if I butcher the names. Chimamanda is a great writer. I think I need to get into a lot more Chimamanda because I've only seen one. I can't even say I've read her book because I started and never finished. But And We Shall All Be a Feminist is one I would definitely like to crack open. It's a good read. Did you read it? Would you rate? How would you rate it?
I think. Wait, what's the rating? To 10 or from 1 to 5?
To 5.
To 5. I give her a 4 because I feel like she's the only. I mean, her book literally, how feminists sometimes can be so strong, like on certain things. I feel like she's the only one that, like, it's a bit more. I don't know. She's on neutral ground at the same time. She's still a feminist. She doesn't push it to the wall and make people like those who are not feminists retaliate. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. I would give it a read. I think it's a good review you've given. I'll definitely check it out. And I want to see how the title sort of flows into the story. Because sometimes titles can be very, but yeah, I would definitely check it out. Maybe I'll join later, but how do you all sustain this eagerness to want more books? How do you balance your reading period and work? I think a song. It's interesting. I play a lot of video games. I do the podcast. I go to school full time. Now I don't teach things because Echo finally became a great student. Guys, if you don't know, this is Echo. Yeah, he learned everything he needs to learn, so I don't teach anymore. But yeah, sometimes it gets very interesting. But for me, reading is sort of the reset. That's how I get my mind to calm down. After a hectic semester, I try to. And so for me, even after a long day, if I don't watch a documentary or something on YouTube, or it's a good way to calm down. And like if you get thrillers like this, you don't sleep. That's basically how I make time to read, because it gets so intense and so good that you're like page after page after page after page. And I remember Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, right? I was so into this whole thing that I didn't sleep for days until I finished, and I almost got myself in the hospital. But Song, yeah, it's a balancing act that comes with giving it a try. And you can start with the the light reads, and it picks up over time. So yeah, I think you would figure it out. Yeah, The Sex Life of an African Woman book. I'm keen to hear a review. I would definitely give a review. Think Like a Billionaire by Scott Anderson. Okay, think like a billionaire. I'd like to think like a billionaire, but I'd like to be a billionaire too. I don't only want to think, I want to live like a billionaire.
You want to be a
I'd like to live
billionaire.
like a billionaire. So definitely it's a book I would like.
I don't think we should limit ourselves to just books. You see,
Hmm.
people read how do you call them? Oh, poems, those articles, anything you read that inspires you to do something.
Mhm.
I read a lady's, I don't know her title, but the title, I don't know the person, but the title was The Perils of Self Betterment.
Hmm.
It's
The
it's
Peril.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah, The Perils of
Hmm.
Self Betterment
Hmm.
is
Is it a
very
book or an
good.
article?
It was just an article, like a page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Those ones are
Sometimes you
always
just
good ones.
you just chance on it and then you happen
Mhm.
to read.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
you don't have to limit yourself to reading like 10 pages, 100 pages, 500 pages. No. Sometimes you just, get an article, 3 pages, 5 pages, and it's as good as a book.
Mm.
Okay.
Trust me.
And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
saw in the comments somebody was asking how do you find time to
Yeah.
read
Yeah.
and whatnot.
Mhm.
Honestly, me, unless it's to read and pass for exam, I don't like reading. Let's be honest. I really don't like reading. And I feel like it's a bad thing. I mean, it's good to read. It really helps a lot. I mean, but if you don't really like to read and maybe the book you want to read has a movie on it or something, you can decide to watch the movie instead of reading it. You still get the story or something. So
Mhm.
yeah, don't
Yeah.
really stress yourself that much if you can read a lot.
One of these days, we really should talk about that. I think it's a good conversation to have. Books and movies, books versus movies. Today, I was having a conversation with Jeffrey, and he was telling me how a book he's reading was adapted for a screenplay and really went bad. I know a lot of us would have those things, right?
I have a lot
One
of
of these
them.
days, we'd get into that conversation. But I think another recommendation came in from Song. If you really want an African book, you should try Kwabna Sechi's The
Yeah.
Blinkards. The Blinkards, a Ghanaian satire which you would enjoy. We definitely check out the Blinkards. Interesting. I like computer science, and I
I
did
did.
computer science, and I was getting some of these book recommendations from from Computer Security Podcast.
Oh,
Ghost
okay.
in the Wires is about
It's about
social
social
engineering,
engineering.
and Sandworm about malware and ransomware. So I guess Wendy, that was the
Best
answer
Mark,
to
I
your
believe you
question.
now. I'm so sorry.
There you go.
I
He
believe
actually
you.
did read these books.
Yeah. So you were
Easy.
not, yeah. I'm sorry about that.
And Kwame said he recommends audiobooks too in case you can't read
Yeah.
hard copies. I am a testimony of audiobooks. I love audiobooks. And these days, guys, I'm going to give you a key. After you've hit that subscribe button on this YouTube channel, there are a lot of YouTube channels out there on audiobooks. There are a lot of great free audiobook YouTube channels. Don't tell anybody I said that. Don't tell anybody I said that. So after you watch an episode of the Casa podcast, you can go on YouTube and listen to a few
Yeah.
books for free.
But how do you
So
guys do with the audiobook? I feel like
That's
I'll be
exactly
distracted.
what I wanted to ask.
I feel like I'll
Yeah.
be distracted. Like if I love to listen, right?
Mhm.
But the person has to be, I have to see you or something so that I pay attention and want to listen and ask questions. But then it's like somebody narrating. I get, I don't know how it works.
So audiobooks for me are
Mhm.
like listening to radio, right? I listen to radio a lot. I listen to NPR all the time, right? I treat it the same way. I like audiobooks because I can enjoy the material and do something else. Like I said, I could be in the gym, I could be driving and still be get reading the book. Um, it's an acquired taste. It's not for everybody. I think some people try it and get into it. Some people try it and are like, it's not my thing. I need to be following the words. Sometimes I might even have a book. There are several books. I would have the book opened and I'll still be listening to the audiobook because sometimes it helps me with the
Wow.
pronunciations of the names, right? Because again, like I've demonstrated several times on this episode, I am terrible with names. So sometimes the audiobook helps me mention these names as I go along. So yeah, for fictions, these authors are a few of my favorite. Vince Flynn, Matthew Riley, James Phelan, and J.K. Rowling. Yeah, J.K. Rowling is in. Guys, we're almost wrapping up on this episode. It's been wonderful. We've had so many recommendations. The recommendations keep pouring in. I think this mark has been my favorite contributor. 1984,
Mhm.
Crime and Punishment, Man's Search for Meanings are the 5. Okay, he's only read 5 books. And so he lists some of them. 1984, Crime and Punishment, Man's Search for Meaning. And so, yeah, these are the books he has also read. And Christine is sharing a good tip. Audible. Anything read by Stephen Fry. Yes, I love Stephen Fry's voice. I love Stephen Fry's reading. If you want to get into audiobooks, just go and look for Stephen Fry on audiobooks. He on Audible, I think that even some books read by Stephen Fry that are actually on YouTube. You can definitely he's such a great reader.
I'll check.
Like,
I'll check him out.
yeah, he does the characters' voices. Okay, I listened to him. I listened to the Harry Potter series in a week. So there you
Wow.
go. So yeah, Stephen Fry comes in very highly recommended. I agree with Christine. Stephen Fry is definitely the person to listen to if you're trying to get into audiobook. So guys, it's been the Casa Podcast. Michael gives a thumbs up. We're going to go around the room and take last recommendations. D, your last recommendations.
Well, I have, as I said earlier, I haven't read a lot of books,
Mhm,
but these,
mhm.
I think, some recommendations I had from friends. One of them is "Take the Risk" by Ben Carson. That's one major book I look forward to reading. How to take proper risk. So I
D,
think,
is
yeah,
it the Ben Carson? Ben Carson.
yeah, Ben Carson.
Ben
Take the
Carson, Ben
Risk.
Carson. Like Ben. Okay, I guess that's why he took the risk and ran for president. That's wonderful. It's a book you should check out if you want to run for president
Yeah.
someday. Because Ben definitely took the risk. Chris, any book for us? Have
I
you
have
seen
a
your
book
face?
here. I
Have you
have
seen
a
your
book
face?
here.
Uh-huh.
I have a book here I've been trying to read. I started
Okay.
it, but I think I've read about 2 chapters.
Which book is it?
It's Life is Messy by
Life is
Matthew
Messy.
Kelly.
Oh,
Yeah,
Life
this
is
book.
Messy. Nice.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, I started reading this
Mhm,
month, but
mhm.
I've read only just 2 chapters, and then
Okay.
so I
Okay.
recommend. Yeah, it's good.
Life is
It's good.
Messy. It would have been very funny if Life is Messy was written by Cristiano Ronaldo. You get Life is Messy by Cristiano Ronaldo. That would have been fantastic. Echo, any
Yeah.
recommendation for us?
Yeah, so I was having a book that I would like to go back, which is
Mhm.
Chronicles of Narnia, Silverchair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chronicles of Narnia.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Silverchair. I had the
Mhm.
book like a while back, and I enjoyed it. I was like, I have to go back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Wendy, recommendations. Wendy was
I'll s-
dancing.
I'll say reminders of him.
Mhm,
I think it's by Colin Hoover. I'm not
mhm,
too sure.
mhm,
I think it's more like a romance. It's not really romance, but I don't know. It's more like
mhm,
thinking about somebody in the past. I don't know. I've not really read
mhm,
it. Someone
mhm,
recommended it. I've not
mhm.
read it, so maybe I might read it. Even though I don't
Okay.
want to read it because Who wants to remember somebody in the past? Those are so good.
Okay, okay. People are asking if D is going to give predictions. Listen, the AFCON, what D has done to us. We are not even going to let her do any more predictions. But D, we'll let you predict 2 games today because they are going
Okay.
to start only 2 games, not
Mhm.
AFCON based. But we'll come to you if you are your recommendations.
I would recommend you read 5 a.m. Club. Yes.
5
The
a.m.
5
club.
a.m. Club.
The
Yes.
5 a.m. club. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then read is it the Act of Persuasion? I've
Sorry,
forgotten the
Ifya, do you know
title.
who the author is? Because I'm writing it down.
I can send it to you later on. I read it long ago. I don't remember, but it's something
Okay,
I've
all right.
read. Yeah, but I can
Okay.
send it to you when I get
Okay.
it. And
would
then
would get the title and put them in the description of the YouTube
yeah,
channel. We'll
but
put
I
all
know
the
it's the
all
5
the
a.m. Club.
5
And
a.m.
then
club.
and then the Act of Persuasion. Is it the Act of Persuasion or just Persuasion? One of them. I'll
Mhm.
get it and then I'll just
Mhm.
give it to you guys. Yep. And then
Okay.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. That is
Yeah.
an interesting one. I think that should be it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's wonderful. We're going to let Dee get into her prediction mode because I really wanted to end this show, but a lot of the comments are coming in, and I really could you check out 1984 by Malcolm Gladwell, but the ending is some way, okay, I'll read it and then I'll let us talk about the ending. D, you should predict the
Yes.
semis. Apparently, that's what people want today. People
Okay.
want you to predict the semis.
Mhm.
I think D, I'm going to do it. This is another trick. Let me put you on blast. D, this is a trick.
Okay.
Egypt versus Morocco.
Morocco is winning.
Well, they ended. Egypt won.
Oh,
D,
really?
D, you are not in touch with your ancestors. D, you are not in touch with your ancestors. Okay, D, another one. Burkina Faso versus Tunisia.
Has it been played already?
D, Burkina versus
Please,
Tunisia.
we don't like that. The Oracle
D,
doesn't like that.
Burkina versus Tunisia.
Tunisia wins.
Burkina won. D,
Oh.
you are not in touch with your ancestors. D, listen, guys, you see why I don't want D to predict. D is not unsolved. Okay,
Yeah.
D, this game is still ongoing. Senegal versus Equatorial Guinea.
Senegal is winning.
Senegal is winning well. At the moment, it's a 1-1 tie. We'll see
Okay.
how it goes. But D, I have 2 games for you today because
Okay.
it's championship weekend. It's the final, it's the AFC and NFC finals of the NFL. So today we have the Bengals playing the Chiefs.
Okay.
Cincinnati Bengals are playing Kansas City Chiefs. Who wins that one?
Kansas City.
D, we are not friends, okay? You and I,
Sorry.
we're
But that's
over.
what the Oracle
It's
is
over.
saying.
Because now I know that the Oracle could be wrong because all
What
the
are you
predictions
talking
you gave
about?
are wrong.
No,
We want
the
Joe
Oracle
Burrow
is
to
Could you
win.
please allow?
The
We are
Oracle is
supporting
So
Joe Burrow.
don't influence. Don't influence. You are
Okay. The
don't
other
don't
the other championship game is the San Francisco 49ers. Who are they playing? They are playing the LA Rams. So Rams 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco wins. That game I
Yeah.
really don't care about, but
Mhm.
apparently you heard it here first. San Francisco wins,
Yeah.
LA goes home because LSU students are in LA. She doesn't want LSU students to win. So listen, Odell is winning, and then Joe Burrow is winning, whether you like it or not. So, guys, we're going to end the podcast here today. It's been the Casa podcast today. We've been talking about books. We're talking about the books we'd recommend for 2022. We've had so many recommendations. My Kwesi, my younger brother, recommends Malcolm Gladwell, and I think yes, Christine is agreeing that she finished 1984 yesterday, and the last 2 chapters really confused her. I'd also check it out and see if I would be confused. But once again,
Christine, you read a lot. That's good.
Yeah,
oh yeah, she
reads
finished the Harry
a
Potter series in
lot.
a week. She's
That's
amazing,
amazing.
and she works as an engineer. She also is in
Oh.
grad school,
Interesting.
and she's reading this extensively, and she's
That's
staying up.
amazing.
I don't know what time it is in Australia, but she's staying up this late to catch the Casa podcast, and this is why we love and
Oh,
appreciate her.
thank
Wow.
you.
Christine, we love and
Yeah.
appreciate you so much. Thanks so much for the support. And guys, thank you so much for catching this live stream. We can't do this without you. You guys are the reason we come here and do this every week. We love everything. We love the support. We love you guys. We appreciate all the recommendations. We thank you for engaging this conversation as a Casa podcast. The tribe really loves and appreciate all the support. If you haven't done that yet, that subscriber button really does a lot to help the channel out. Share it with your friends, invite your friends to subscribe too, because we really need the subscriptions to go up so that Casa Podcast can keep doing what we do. Because Wendy needs to buy a new car and she's waiting on
please.
the YouTube revenue.
Yes,
She's waiting on the
please.
streaming revenue. So
Please
guys,
try for me, please.
please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification bell so that whenever new episodes come out, you can check them out. We really love and appreciate you. Enoch, thank you so much. Much love right back, brother. Much love right back. Thanks for all the love and support. We've come to the end of another episode. It's been the Casa Podcast, and from us here at the Tribe,
Bye.
Bye.
it's bye.